Hello there everyone and welcome to a new review on the channel, and I'm delighted to say that this is going to be my last video of the year, and I'm more than happy and more than ecstatic of making a review for How to Read Minds 2 for you to close out the year. We've looked at How to Read Minds previously on the channel, and today we're going to be looking at the brand spanking new kit by Illusionist, so the second How to Read Minds, one that has a lot of people talking both negatively and positively, and a lot of questions surrounding it, seeing that Peter Turner left Illusionist when they were undergoing the production of this kit, and people asking themselves, did he kind of just give up on this? Is this good? Is he really as thorough as he was with his other kits and explanations? All of these questions, as well as an unpacking of the quality and a discussion of everything inside, will be coming right up. So stick around because we're going to be diving into all of this right after the intro. Perfect, so you decide to stick around, which means you want to learn more about How to Read Minds 2. So what is How to Read Minds 2? It's the well-awaited follow-up to the first kit of How to Read Minds that was incredibly well received by, I think, overall the entire mentalism and magic community, bar kind of the way it was sold and the way it was kind of marketed as the buy this, you become a god kind of marketing. Apart from that, I think the material inside, even if you know some of the props weren't as good as they could have been, I think it was pretty well received, and this one follows suit. Again, with the marketing that I'm still not kind of, fond of, like the pre-packaged talent, because what I find funny is that this kit is actually a bit more advanced than what a lot of people are expecting it to be. So I really want to unpack this because this is really a leap forward. I really think that this is a 2, and I think that this is a lot more intermediate type mentalist or magician compared to the first one. So as I always do with these big packages and these big products, I won't be performing an effect for you from it, but I will be unpacking everything, and I will be dissecting the entire videos that you get so you understand everything that you're going to get with your purchase. So I think the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to unpack this, and then we're going to dive into the videos. So I'll put this to the side. But first, when you get this box, it's a very beautiful box, right? I think this is, even Peter Turner says this is the best box they've released, and I really think it's very, very good. And it's a very nice thing to even have on your shelf. And of course, it opens up just like this. Then the first thing that you get, as always, is this. So what you're going to get is a credit card that is going to give you a discount on the tutorials for How to Read Minds, which is kind of weird. But compared to the other one, instead of having a USB for this, it's all digital files that you can download or stream. So you'll get the code that is special for you on the back of this card, and it's going to lead you to the videos. And what you're going to get in these videos is similar to the other kit and other products, is you're going to get a video for every single prop of this kit, but you're also going to get a video of different things that use other props, like that use playing cards or use psychological forcing, or within certain videos that we're going to talk about in a moment, you get some really big tangents that lead you into some really good kind of hypnosis routines and some really good forcing routines, etc. So it really is kind of a amalgamation of principles and routines that goes beyond just the props, which is the exact same thing that I said for the other kit, and what I'm going to say as well with the 13 Steps to Mentalism kit. The props are a vehicle, but the instructions are always better than the props because they push not only the props forward, but principles as well. So let's unpack what you get here clearly. First, as you can see, there's 2 boxes missing, which is what constitutes the Rise gimmick. Now, Illusionist has been a bit secretive about this, and a lot of people have not mentioned what this is online. So for the integrity of the product and the integrity of this, and of magic and mentalism in general, I will not be showing you what those gimmicks are as to not spoil this, because I think they've kept it secret for a reason, because it was the major selling point of this effect. Now, the Rise gimmick comes accompanied with a 1-hour tutorial that goes over a ton of routines, a ton of principles, and a ton of ideas of how to use it, where the principle one is a card at any card at any number, statistically where one person holds the deck, you instruct them to think of any card through a process. Another person names any number freely, and the card that they just thought of that they never said out loud is the same card that is at the number that that person named. That is the main routine with the Rise gimmick, but you also get some hypnosis routines. You also get some kind of two-person act routines where you can have your partner blindfolded, place an item on the table that, you know, no one knows, or have a spectator place an item and have your other person guess what it is, even with their back turned, right? So it allows you to do different things. It is a gimmick that is very well known in mentalism specifically, but I won't go too much into exactly what it is as to not spoil it. Then you get a stack of billets. So you get a stack of these billets that we've kind of covered in the previous kit as well. And again, in this kit as well, Peter Turner says that these are his favorite billets. And I kind of agree. I really, really like these billets. I use them. These are the ones that I use the most. I have basically like 500 of them. Every single order from Illusions that I do, I buy 100 of these, basically a stack of these, because I really, really like them as well. So that is provided to you as well. Then you also get here, you get a deck of cohorts, of ghost cohorts, which is something that I'm going to agree with some of the people complaining about this kit. You get a deck of cohorts, which is not really a popular deck and a kind of weird looking deck. And what's unfortunate is that the Rise gimmick was designed for the ghost cohorts, which means that to do the any card, any number, that is brilliant, by the way, you will have to use a deck of cohorts. But if you are very inclined, you could find ways of using the gimmick with other decks, etc. But, you know, it is what it is. You're going to have to use ghost cohorts, but this is a normal deck of cohorts that you can do normal tricks with. And then you get provided here your gimmicked deck of cohorts, which is specifically designed for the Rise gimmick. From the box to the deck, it is a fully gimmicked deck and a fully gimmicked box that is going to allow you to do the Rise gimmick, any card at any number. And that is what I mean by it's a bit unfortunate that it's in the ghost cohorts, because it's a deck that people don't really see. The colorways are things that people don't really see. So I think it would have been much nicer to have this in red or in blue, but it is what it is. But you get that provided to you. Talking as well now about the Rise gimmick, I'm going to talk about it as well a bit in the difficulty section. But the Rise gimmick has a bit of, you know, people have had issues with it, and I am part of that as well. I found that sometimes at a certain distance, the magic happens or the mentalism happens a bit too late or not on cue or not at all. So it is a bit finicky, will need work, and I did tweak it a bit and now it works well, but still it's not something that I'm yet confident enough to go perform out of the gate. We're going to talk about it in difficulty section as well, because it is the most difficult and challenging prop of this entire kit. So we're going to unpack that as well a bit later. Then you also get provided here this pen, which is kind of a gag. So I won't do the gag for you, but it's kind of a gag. It's kind of a throwaway gag. And Peter even says, you know, that he's not part of Illusionist and he's going to tell you the truth. He doesn't like this. He feels it's tacky and it feels as bad. But what's funny is that the tutorial for this pen is probably the best tutorial of the entire kit, because Peter goes in so much depth on so many principles. I'm going to talk about that in a moment as well. But you get this pen. Then you also get this bulldog clip, which of course is your typical kind of Austin clip. You get this as well with everything that you need to build it. So you can do billet switches, card switches, whatever you want with this clip that is provided to you as well. And similar to the How to Read Minds 1 kit, there is some pull tabs that are going to lead you into a second batch of things. And the first thing that you get is this. These are black envelopes that you're going to be able to make as a two-way out envelope that's provided to you, as well as the instructions. You do have to build your two-way envelope. Then you get some of these envelopes as well that are basically your Corzon envelopes. These are things that you're going to be able to have something in the window and then pull out. They're a good idea. You have to build them. They're a bit knacky to build. And personally, I didn't even bother building one because I own the Unbelievelope. So to me, having these more, you know, cheap looking envelopes to do the effect is not something that interested me at all. So yeah, these were of no use to me, but the tutorial is good in terms of providing ideas. but you get those provided as well, and you're going to have to make the gimmick, but you get everything you need to make the gimmick as well. Then you get this little pack, which is basically your prep for the Austin clip. You also get a charger for your Rise gimmick because it is an electronic gimmick. It's provided in here as well. And the last thing that you get is also a very cool and a very nice shiner that is designed to fit in a stack of billets or in a stack of cards or anywhere that you want it. So that is provided in the kit as well. And that is everything that is given to you in terms of gimmicks and props. So a bit less on the props than the previous kit, but it is very much more focused on the instructions this kit around than the first one. So now we're going to unpack everything that you get in terms of the instructions, okay? So what you're going to get in terms of the instructions is a lot here. So you're going to start out with the Rise gimmick, which is an 1 hour kind of masterclass on it, how to use it, how it works, why it works, and how to do it any card at any number, or a bunch of hypnosis or two-person telepathy acts with the Rise gimmick. Then you're going to get a tutorial on the two-way out envelope. You're going to get how to build it, and then he's just going to give you ideas. He will not explain to you any specific tricks. He's just going to throw around ideas and things that he uses this with, and that Mark Lemon uses this with in an act that they did in conjunction, and it's going to give you a lot of cool ideas that how you can use such a gimmick. And similarly to the first kit, the two-out envelope they provide here is not the best. It's mostly made for billets. But again, if you want to push beyond it, you can buy some better ones that fit cards and larger objects as well. Then you get the shiner, which is going to let you do kind of a really cool routine that, you know, they can write any celebrity on your head. You're going to be able to guess it, or any card or any information on a post-it note on your head. You're going to be able to tell them what it is. Then there's also just randomly a discussion on pen reading, which is very good as well in this section. So he goes over how to pen read, how to do different routines with that skill, which is very nice as well. And there's some really cool routines there. Then you also get a billet section where he talks about his favorite billet routines and his favorite billet moves and all of that. So there is a bit of overlap with the other kit, but there's some new ideas as well. Then he goes into an equivocate section that is very well detailed and very well built. That's essentially going to teach you how to force any playing card on anyone in the most fair and simple manner. And I think that is gold. It's very well explained, and the pattern, the justification that he uses to do this is incredible. So I heavily recommend that. Then you get the Bulldog clip, which is essentially the clip that you saw, and he gives you routines, and he also explains the one from the trailer that everyone was talking about, where the woman goes through the bar to choose any bill among 30,000, and he has predicted which one it is. That routine is explained here inside of the tutorial. Then you're going to get no gimmick switches, because we talked about the Bulldog clip with switches. Then he gives you ideas of how to use switches that are not using gimmicks. So he gives you a table switch that you can use on the table, and then he gives you a pen switch that you can use if you're standing up. So he gives you some no gimmick switches as well with some ideas of routines. Then he's going to go over the Corazon envelope, how to build it and what he uses it for. Then he's going to go over a watch force and a peak, which is something that was covered in other tutorials as well, but he re-goes over that again, how to force or how to set a specific time without the need of a Turner watch or a specific gimmicked watch. Then you're going to get the pen. So the pen that I showed you that is kind of a throwaway leads into the biggest section of the entire download, where he talks about crosscut force, crosscut variations. He gives you crosscut corrections. He gives you the timing force. He gives you timing force corrections, which I really like, which involve a slide move and a top change move. He goes over psychological forces, and he goes over again new methods of equivocate or equivoke. So this kind of throwaway section on a prop that he doesn't like at all is an incredible masterclass in a lot of little things that revolve around mentalism. So that is very valuable, even though the prop is not, the instructions are. Then he's going to go over a yes-no routine that doesn't use a gimmick. So this is decisions by Mosaic, but without the use of kind of an uninspectable gimmick, even though his uses a small gimmick. He goes over that as well. Then they're going to go over a two-person telepathy act, where he explains to you some really easy ways of cueing your helper or cueing your second person in your act. Some very interesting ways, and there's some very interesting discussions in that as well. Then he goes over the 21 card trick revisited that I really like. It's an impromptu, anytime, anywhere trick that you can do. It's very good. Then he goes over the 9-4, so how to use the 9-4s that he talked about in other projects as well, and how to expand it and how to use it in different routines, whether it's stage, whether it's reveals, whether it's confabulations. All of that is explained. Then he goes over and out of this galaxy effect, which is an effect where essentially you're able to be in another room or on the phone with someone and tell them the order of their cards that they have in their hand. So you have that as well. Then you get an out of this world. So you get Peter Turner's variation of out of this world, where the difference is that the spectator, you tell them that first of all, I'm going to make you miss every card. I'm going to influence you to be wrong. And then you tell them at any point, you're going to say, I want to win. And when you say that, you're going to be all right. And of course, you manage to do that. Then you get an amnesia routine, which is not my favorite, where essentially you're going to make a spectator forget what a playing card is. It's kind of a hypnosis type routine. It's not really my field, but it is provided to you. Then you get a think of two routine, which is a very basic card trick that, again, I don't really like. It's a bit too simple. It feels a bit like a throwaway idea in the kit, but that is given to you as well. Then you get something that is very good, which is the Rain Man book test, which is a very clean book test that you can do on stage parlor as well. It's very well done. It's very deceptive and it's incredibly well structured. So you get that provided to you as well. Then you get an any picture at any number, which is essentially someone thinks of a doodle, you ask them to think of a number, and that doodle is at that number, with a kicker ending that all the other cards were actually blank. There was no other drawing that exists in this pack of cards except for the one that they just thought of. And again, this is an exercise in psychological forcing and outs in case your psychological force does not hit. The second to last thing that you get is called the memory shuffle, where you'll be able to have a spectator riffle shuffle the deck and tell them the order of every single card in the deck. That will require some memory work, it will require a bit of practice, and it will require an extensive setup, but it is a routine provided to you. And finally, the last thing that you get is a 1-hour jam session that I had higher hopes for, if I'm being honest, because it's just a rehash of some things that they went over in other sections. So for example, in the 9-4s, they kind of derail for like 15 minutes on another subject, and they just included those 15 minutes again in the jam session. And they do that with a few of the effects where I'm like, you know, you're just re-giving us the same thing twice. But still, there is some new things in that jam session, and there's also a discount code of basically 50% provided to you in that section, that Off Mind Games by Peter Turner. If you don't own that, he gives you a discount for that. So that was a hefty run through of everything that you get in this kit. Every prop, every tutorial, and some opinions on it. So you know everything that you get with this kit. So now that you know that, where do you buy this, how much does it cost, and what do you get? So comparatively to the first kit, this is only available from Illusionist. This is only available from Illusionist. You cannot buy this anywhere else at the moment of this review. It will set you back $150, which is 200 Canadian dollars. And what you get is this kit with all of those instructional videos. Now that we've covered that, let's get into the difficulty of the items in this kit. Now, this, as I mentioned at the start, this is really a second kit. This really feels like a step up because a lot of the things here are much more difficult and are much more interesting and much more advanced than what you get in the first How to Read Minds kit. For example, the Rise gimmick. The Rise gimmick is a ballsy gimmick to use. I'm going to be honest. It's a very ballsy gimmick to use and one that's going to need big audience management and is going to need you to be a very good performer and very good audience manager. Okay? So it is very ballsy. Then there's a lot for the Bulldog Club, the routine with the Bills or anything named. It is a bit of a ballsy routine. You will need to be a bit ballsy to do it. Same for the Any Picture of Any Number. You're going to need to be very well versed in your psychological forces. So a lot of this material is material that really feels like a step forward. It really feels like this is not meant for the beginner. right? This is meant for the intermediate or advanced mentalist. So this is really designed, I think, as a step forward, even though there's some really easy tricks here, like the 21 card trick, or the out of this world, or the yes, no, or the 9 force, or the out of this galaxy, or some other routines. Some other of them are a bit harder compared to the first kit, which I think was pretty beginner friendly. This has some more ballsy routines in it. And as I mentioned, the Rise gimmick, I also want to mention that there is no guarantee that it's going to work because it's an electronic device and sometimes things happen. As I said, for you and some other people, it's not as reliable as you would want it to be. Again, I'm not confident enough to go perform that effect, even though it is brilliant. It is an incredible effect, but I'm still not confident enough in going out to perform it because of the current state and the current practice that I've had. I've practiced this around 10 times with family, privately, right? And it's worked maybe 2 out of the 10 times as I intended. I got close a lot of the times, so I got either the card that I needed, but not the suit, or I got the suit, but not the card, because the gimmick didn't necessarily work how you intended it to, and you don't know if it's working or not. So as a performer, you don't know if the information is happening as you need it to happen when compared to, when you need it to happen is the best thing that I can really say here without giving too much. But yeah, the items here are a bit more intermediate to advanced, and they are very good. So I'm going to be blatant again. This was not gifted to me. I paid my own money for this. I bought it. So what I don't like, I'll tell you, and what I like, I'll tell you. There's a lot of people that are upset with the content here. And if I'm being honest, there's a lot of good things here. There's, for example, for me, the Any Picture at Any Number is great. The Rain Man book test is absolutely great. The Out of This Galaxy is great. The 9 Force is great. The 21 card trick is great. The 2-person telepathy act, if you want to get started in it, is absolutely great. The Yes No routine is great. His variations in the pen, like the gimmicked pen trick, are very good. The no gimmick switches he gives you are good. The Bulldog envelope is good. The Equivoke Masterclass is exceptional. The billet section is exceptional. The Shiner routine is very good as well, specifically the pen reading section. And the Rise gimmick, if it works and you get confident with it, is very good. So the items that you get here are very good, but they will require more practice than the items in the other kit. Moving on now to practicality. So how practical are these items? Again, with these type of kits, it ranges. If you want to do the Rise gimmick, you're going to have to carry around your 2 parts of the Rise gimmick and your Rise gimmick deck, right? If you want to do a billet routine, you just need a Sharpie and billets. If you want to do a 2-out envelope routine, you just need your billet, your small envelope, and you're good to go. If you want to do something, let's say with the Bulldog clip, you're just going to need your Bulldog clip and a stack of billets with a pen, and you're good to go. So it really depends on what you want to use. Same thing for whether it's repeatable, whether it's 360, whether there's a reset. All of these routines will depend on different characteristics in order to determine that. But overall, there is a wide range of practical material here. In terms of where to perform, similarly, there are some things here that you can 100% do on stage in parlor and cabaret. For example, the Rise gimmick effect you can 100% do on stage in cabaret. The Curse on envelope is a routine that you could definitely do in a bigger stage. There are some routines provided here. Same with the Bulldog clip. You can easily do this in parlor. You can have the Bulldog clip clipped in a jar, sealed from the start, and have someone name different things. And then you have a small confabulation routine where you give it to the spectator to read. So there are some routines that play well for big audiences and big environments, but there's some that play really well for small settings, like the Out of This World, the Out of This Galaxy, the 9 Force, the 21 card trick, the Any Picture at Any Number. These are things that work close up, casual, table hopping, cocktail environments, all of those settings. Those will work for you. So in terms of that, it's enveloping as with the first kit. Now that we've dove into all of this, let's get into the positives and negatives of How to Read Minds 2. What is the first negative of How to Read Minds 2? The first one is that the Rise gimmick is still a bit finicky. The reason this kit was delayed for around 6 months is because of the Rise gimmick, and even then, it is still a bit finicky. For some people, it works great. For some people, it doesn't work at all. And for some people, it works, but has some hiccups here and there, like myself, that doesn't really boost confidence in your performance. So, it is something to be seen. Second of all, the other negative that I have is that the jam session section, I had such high hopes, but it's just really weirdly cut and really weirdly put together. It just feels like a throwaway section, which leads me to my last thing, is that some of the tutorial is really weirdly designed in terms of, in one tutorial at one point, you hear Grain behind the cameras, he's like, "Are you ready to roll, Peter? Are we ready to roll the cameras?" Then Peter's like, "Yes, we're ready." Then Grain is like, "Okay, 3, 2, 1, roll the cameras." And Peter then just takes a pause and starts talking. Why did you not just cut that? So there's a lot of, I think, things that were maybe rushed a bit with the kit. So it is kind of weird to point out. And the other thing as well is that they brought someone with Peter so he can discuss the material with. In the first kit, it was Brad Christian, and a lot of the material he talks with him about and he unpacks with him. But in this kit, they brought a magician, a girl magician from Las Vegas. She's very nice, she seems very knowledgeable, but she didn't really feel confident or kind of enjoyable enough to be there on camera because she doesn't basically speak. So a lot of times you have her for 1 hour just sitting on a chair, just looking at the camera, or being a bit awkward because she doesn't necessarily know what to do since she's not doing anything. So I don't know, it just felt weird. In a lot of videos, you kept seeing her like just look at the camera and be like, "Oh, was I supposed to do something?" So it felt a bit weird sometimes to have her there because I don't know. I know that Peter wanted to talk to someone, but again, that's not her fault. She was just put there because they wanted to have someone to Peter to talk with. But in some tutorials, you do feel that she's kind of like, "Why am I here? Can I just leave?" It doesn't detract from anything, but it's just something that caught my eye, and I'm just mentioning it because why not? So now that we've covered the negatives of this kit, let's get into the positives. What are the positives? One, the instructions as per usual, even though Peter Turner was not part of Illusionist, even though some of the things were rushed, the instructions are top-notch, top tier, and the effects explained are top tier, the subtleties are top tier, and everything else is incredibly well explained. Some of the props here are also very good. Some of the props here, similarly to the first kit, are a springboard towards some better props for you in the future. Some of the props here are going to be things that are going to last you an incredibly long time, like the bulldog clip. So some of these are more lasting and better built than the first one, for sure. But some of them are still some throwaway items or just included off the cuff. And I also agree with some people saying that, even though we get a really nice 2 envelope and a Curzon envelope, it would have been nice for them to be built already. I do know it requires a bit more work, but again, it is what it is. So there is still some really good things to say about this kit, but there is a bit more negatives than the first one. Having said this, would I recommend this and what do I give it out of 10? Would I recommend the kit, How to Read Minds 2? I think that if you're a beginner, I would say not really. I would say buy the first one or wait for my review of the 13 Steps to Mentalism and buy that. So if you're a beginner, I do not recommend this. However, if you're an intermediate or advanced mentalist, I think there's more to be learned here, even though it has quite a few negatives and quite a few hiccups in its kit. I think there's more knowledge here than there is in the first one for you 100%. And I'm going to be honest with you as well. I've enjoyed this kit. I've enjoyed it. The material that I like that I mentioned, I really enjoyed. Even though I kind of feel like I'm throwing out a lot of negatives for this kit, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than the first kit, hands down. Even with all the negatives, I enjoyed it more. I learned more. I challenged myself more. And the material is more professional than the first kit. And I'll be honest with that. I find it better. I find it's better material, more fully material, and better adapted material for someone that is looking to go out to gig. But that said, I think I'm not going to give it a better grade than the first one because of some of the video hiccups, some of the gimmicks here not being really top tier, but it's still a very good piece of kit. I still kind of recommend it, and I'm going to give it an 8.5 on 10. So not as high as the first one, even though there's a lot of material that I really like and a lot of material that I find is much better than the first kit. But I feel that the first kit was more worked on, was better put together, and was put together with more love. And even though Peter Turner is as great as ever in this kit, I still feel you can feel that he left Illusionist and he wanted to leave them on a good note, so he did his best, but it wasn't his 200% best as it was with the first kit. But that said, I hope people receive this well. Peter did his best. I hope in the future he's maybe going to come back with a 3 or with a new kit, because I value his input as well. But that is all I have to say about it. An 8.5, I kind of recommend it. If you have any questions, leave them down below. If not, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next review. Have a great one.